Hello, good morning, happy Wednesday, and welcome to Ask Wildman. My name is Miles Bassett. I'm the CEO and founder over at Wildman Web Solutions. We're putting on this show every week to answer your questions. So this is a open Q&A for anyone, live streaming to our Facebook page. So throw your questions, your comments in the comments below. We're also streaming this to YouTube. Ever since last week, just started live streaming over to YouTube, so you can watch us over there as well. Anyway, we're here every week to answer any and all questions about technology, marketing, business, or anything else you want to ask us about. We will do our best. And with no further ado, introduce my partner over here. Mike, here he is, Mike Hanna.
Hello, Miles.
Yeah,
Good
way
morning
too
to you,
many
sir.
buttons to click to get you on here. I've got to find a
You
faster
got me
way
though.
here.
I did not get lost in the matrix. You found me.
It's
Thank
tempting
goodness.
though. Right there next to the button to push you on here is the X, so I can just like delete you out of the stream entirely. I always
Well,
worry I'm gonna.
I'll watch what I say then. I know he's got the itchy trigger finger this morning. Well, Miles, I'm in a exceptionally good mood today because tomorrow is the start of the 120th U.S.
Uh-oh. I don't know if I froze or if
Jayhawk
he.
and good friend Gary Woodland won last year. Had to wait a little longer. They usually play this in June, so had to wait a little longer this year. But he's going to be defending his title starting tomorrow morning. So I'm all dressed up as if I was playing in the U.S. Open, and I've got my Jayhawk mug here because when you have one of your own Jayhawks in the Open, it's almost like we're all in the Open defending that championship. So I'm in champion caliber mode this week.
Yeah, looks like it. I'd buy it. That's a good golfing costume. That's the right word, right?
Yeah, sure. Run with it.
All right. So we're going to get this ball rolling. Like I said, this is a open Q&A for anyone. So if we're talking about something, you've got some questions, you just want to jump in the conversation, put your comments below. We are live on Facebook and on YouTube, so pick your poison. You can also email us your questions at askwildman@wildmanweb.com. I have that address scrolling below us in this little crawler here. And we'll check that and get your questions next week if we don't get to them here. All right. What kind of questions do we have? All right, let's start with some basic social media questions, and then I've got some bigger topics I want to get into. First question in the hopper over here. I think I'll toss this one to you, Mike. What is the proper amount of social media posting?
Yeah, it's a good question. We get this one a lot. It's one that keeps coming back up, but it's worth discussing. A couple different factors go into how much you're posting, and of course this could depend a little bit upon your category. But the answer to that question is probably the proper amount of posting is as much as you can possibly do without spamming people. We talk a lot about providing value when we put out content, on this show and with our clients and our agency, and so not coming across as spammy is really really important, and not coming across as salesy is also really really important. And so how do we do that? Well, keep reverse engineering the content or the messaging of your post and figuring out what is going to bring value to the audience. What does the audience want to hear about, rather than what you always want to talk about, or what you want them to think that they should know about or be thinking about. And so there's a delicate balance there that goes into that formula, and it's basically just a matter of how much content can you create in order to not put as much out there without being spammy and providing value. So you really want to optimize for as much as you possibly can. There's not a limit of too much content. It's not the quantity that matters as much as the quality. You know, you can post 7,500 times a day. Literally, if all of it is value based for the end consumer. Now, of course, that's nearly impossible to do, so no one's ever going to be able to do that. But what I'm getting at with that outlandish example is that nobody, really nobody, including ourselves, including our clients, including Fortune 500 companies, really almost nobody is posting as much as they could or should be doing. But it also goes back to a little bit of what we talked about last week about in order to do that, you literally have to become a media company yourself. And so if I sell shoes, well, I don't really sell shoes. I'm a media company that sells shoes. And when I get into that type of a mindset, then I'm able to create that much content. And another thing is, we have to take into account, there's all these different platforms out there. So I'm really just talking about one platform, right now. And that's what you should probably start out with, is just one platform. And you can post as much as you can to that, and then work your way up to other platforms. And so why do I say that? Because your content needs to be contextualized. So each platform is a little bit different. And each platform is a little bit different in terms of their audience, in terms of the way that the people engage with their audience. It could be the same people, but I act a little bit differently on LinkedIn than I do on Instagram, right? And so my psychology as a user of the platform is a little bit different as well. And so we have to take that also into account. And you don't want to spread yourself too thin. So, you don't want to take the same piece of content and put it over 7 platforms. And you also don't want to spend, all this time doing individual contextual content on 7 different platforms and then only posting once a week, right? Both of those are incorrect, and so if you do have the time, you do have the resources, try to make contextualized content for each individual platform, and then make as much as you possibly can, because I guarantee you, no matter who asks this question, they're probably not creating enough content in order to really drive as many people through the funnel as they possibly can.
So more. The answer is
More,
more.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Without being too noisy. I think there's a lot of noise out there, and so you got to cut through it somehow. Just posting for the sake of posting can get a little bit dangerous. I mean, you kind of covered it there when you were saying, don't be salesy or anything like that, but there's also just, don't be useless noise out there. There has to be some sort of substance to something, even if you're not being salesy. If it's just sort of hollow posting for the sake of posting, then that's no fun for anyone, and probably not going to help you
Well,
out too much.
yeah, that's a good point too, Miles. I mean, I guess I should add into the belt pile, fluff. Just
Yeah.
yeah, just like, hey, did you know that today was National Hot Dog Day? And you're a printing company. It's like nobody cares, right? That was obviously just like, well, the boss said we had to post 5 times today, so that was the 4th one we found. So yeah, so that can also be a detriment as well. So I'm glad you threw that in there. That one I don't think about it usually, but that's one that I do actually see quite a bit actually, now that I think about it.
Oh,
So yeah, so always put anything that you're putting out there through that filter of what is my end consumer really getting out of this? Is it providing information to them? Is it providing some sort of entertainment to them? Or is it educating them in some way? Or is it, or do I need to engage with them? Here's the other thing: is maybe you need to have more, more polls and more, kind of open-ended posts where you're getting feedback from your audience, and so that because maybe you don't know what they want. I have people tell me that semi-regularly as well. I say, okay, but I don't really know what's valuable to my audience. Okay, fair enough. Let's start there and let's back up, and let's dig into that, because you have to know deeply and intimately who your audience is and what they want them, especially who they are and what they want, will come. You have to have some idea of that before you start posting a lot of content, for sure. So yeah, it could also be you just need more understanding of your audience, and usually that's done through engaging with them directly. So maybe you need to do more live stuff. We talked about live streams a few months ago on the program. But that's so integral, because then you can have that one-on-one interaction. You can have that real-time feedback with your audience, and then hopefully that'll lead to a lot more ideas of things that you can be posting in the future that aren't spammy, aren't salesy, and aren't fluff.
Yeah, so we've got a little bit of, speaking of engagement here, a little comment from Jeff. Hello, Jeff. Thanks for tuning in.
Good morning, Mr. Fry.
What about the taco zone approach?
I like some Taco Zone tacos. I'm not sure if I'm familiar with their approach. Are you, Miles, or Jeff, could you add us a little bit of context there?
I'm not entirely sure what he's getting at here. So yeah, Jeff, if you want to expand on that, we'll gladly address it. But anyone else watching this who wants to follow in Jeff's lead, go ahead and throw your comments below and just jump in the conversation. We'd be happy to answer your questions or feature a comment here on the show. All right, so while we're waiting on Jeff here to go into the taco zone approach, I want to go back. We'll talk on this for just a second more before moving on. But I don't know, one of my big problems personally with posting on social media is like I don't do it a whole lot. In my personal life, I'm not one that just puts up everything that I'm doing, and so it can be a little bit to me. It can feel a little bit forced, or I don't exactly enjoy it. But I definitely get caught in that perfectionist trap. I don't put up a whole lot because I'm worried about what it's going to be, or I spend too much time on everything. So we make sure that, I say don't put up fluff pieces or anything. Make sure that everything that you have is substantial in some way or has some sort of real valuable content in there. But also, not everything has to be a fully produced novel piece, made for TV film kind of quality thing. You can, especially through going through some of those methods like you just talked about with live videos or polls or posting in different ways, you can leverage the technology in front of you to be interesting, to be engaging without having to put a bunch of time and energy into it. And don't be a perfectionist about it. Just put something out there and make sure that it's real.
Yeah,
Apparently,
yeah.
we need to be looking at Taco's
I,
Instagram here.
I'm looking at their Instagram right now, Jeff. Well, I saw that, but yeah, Miles, not to pick on you, but you are a bit of a perfectionist, and that is
Oh,
something
I'm aware.
that does it does come up though a lot, and we have clients that are the same way, and they were really apprehensive about putting something out there that's not 100% correct, and so let's talk about that for a minute, because I think a lot of people. Deal with that, and then the other thing is, yeah, I'm really private in my personal life, so I'm not an oversharer. So let's start with that one. Actually, if you're not a sharer and you really don't know, hey, I don't know if I have something to say necessarily, or I don't know what to say, then you can always document the process, right? And anybody can do that. I mean, you just literally set up a camera and hit record, and then we'll use the taco zone, for example. And then, I'm documenting me as the taco zone guy, doing all the prep work in the morning, and, getting my social media going, opening up and, having a powwow with the employees, and then talking to customers, and documenting my day, documenting how I facilitate my customers through my business. And that's a story in itself that can provide value and be entertaining, and at least show a little bit more depth about what you're all about. But then, and so that's what I would say to that is, if you're not, really sure how to create something, try documenting first, and then working from there. And then as far as the perfectionist thing goes, uh, who's to decide what's right and what's wrong and what's perfect and what's not, right? And the market is the market is the market. And so I think a lot of times this goes back to Roy Williams, not the basketball coach, but the ad wizard, and the 12 causes of advertising failure. Number 8, I believe, being small businessman's disease or small businesswoman's disease, where when we're running a business, we're only able to see it from the inside of the bottle, and so we can't read the label on the outside of the bottle. And so for us, it's actually a really bad position to say, hey, this is wrong, this is right, when we aren't the ones that's able actually on the outside reading it. We're on the inside of the bottle, right? And so put it out there. That's what I'm trying to say. Put it out there and let the market decide. And that's another reason why volume of content is so important. Because if I put out 30 pieces of content in a week, well, they're not all going to be home runs, right? They're not all going to be Academy Award winners. But if only one or two or three of them are really bad, it's going to get washed away and forgot about, right? Because there's 27 other pieces of content that people found value from. And then we learn through all the the great metrics that we can get, all the great data that we can get about the stuff that we put out there, that hey, these 3 posts were duds, so let's not post about that anymore. And so through trial and error and testing, we're able to learn and get better and better at this craft. But if we're only putting out 3 pieces of content a week and 2 of them are duds, well, yeah, that makes our brand look really crappy. And we really didn't find out what worked, and what's going to work long term. So that's why, okay, forget about, being the judge and the jury in house. Put a bunch of content out there and let the market decide, let the audience decide what is great and what is not, and then test and refine from there as you go.
I feel like we always come back to measuring and testing, and we say this like every week on everything that we're doing, whether we're talking about
100%.
social media or optimizing your website or doing some sort of paid marketing or something. It's just whatever you do. We live in the world of information now, so there's no excuse to not be gathering as much information, as much data on whatever it is you're doing, as you possibly can, because that's how you know what's actually working here. I guess we got another question in here. If anyone else has any questions or anything, go ahead and follow his lead. But Jeff, we got another question. You talk about using Google to, I'm supposing it's our benefit. Well, I mean, we've talked about SEO on this show a lot. I know that I've gone down that rabbit hole a couple of times. So if you guys want me to talk about SEO, I'm always happy to do that. But try to take this a different direction outside of just optimizing your website. So obviously, that's the practice of making Google like your website more and getting you more traffic on there. But using Google outside of just the search engine. They have a lot of great tools out there and a lot of things that you as a business or as an organization can engage with in 100 different ways. That can be making sure that you're listing yourself properly on the Maps directory so that people can find you on Google Maps. It can be making sure that you've claimed your listing, your Google My Business listing. The GMB listing is one of the most powerful business tools on the net right now, mostly because it's owned by the big search engine. So it's going to be the first thing that a lot of people see. But it also kind of acts as this, I don't know, like a mini website. It's the first thing that people see, and it has a lot of information on there, or it can have basic information like your address, phone number, links to your website, links to call you. But it can have a lot more than that. You can actually post to it as if it's a social media platform. So that's adding pictures and videos and testimonials outside of just the reviews there. I know we've talked about the importance of reviews a lot, but claiming that Google My Business listing and then engaging with it regularly as if it is another social media platform, that can be immensely impactful for you and your business. So maybe we can tie this into the previous conversation about posting to social media. There, like you said, there's platform specific stuff. You want to be a little bit different than you are, a little bit different on LinkedIn than you are on Instagram or something. Those are two very different universes. Go ahead and throw Google My Business into that mix as well. If you're already hopping around from platform to platform, or you have a tool like the one that we put out there to manage multiple social media platforms at once, make sure that you aren't forgetting about Google My Business. It's not strictly a social media platform, and I don't think anyone really uses it like that ever since the demise of Google Plus, but you can post to it in a similar way, and Google loves to see that. It'll help your search engine score. It'll help people find you. It'll help people find relevant information about you. So the the more frequently and the higher quality posts that you put on your Google My Business listing, the better. And you're going to really start seeing some effects from that pretty quick. Um, so that's another good way outside of SEO to use Google to your benefit. And then there's always just like the paid tools out there. You can buy G Suite. I always recommend that to people if they are just starting, they want to get domain emails set up or something like that. G Suite is an awesome tool. We use it internally here at Wildman. It's super cheap, super easy. It gets you that Gmail interface that you're used to with your with a domain email, and gives you a bunch of other tools to engage with the Google suite of products. And then the added benefit there is that Google is the giant. Google has YouTube. Google has the search engine. Google has Maps. And so the more you use their tools, the more they're going to like you and they're going to prioritize you. So there's kind of a double, triple win in there somewhere, two birds, one stone kind of idea, where you get some really good management tools out of the deal, and then also that search engine, that tech giant that is Google, is going to look on you a little bit more favorably. If you want me to dive into any of that in a little more detail, go ahead, let me know. Throw it in the comments here. Mike, did you have any Google points? Maybe
Yeah,
getting into Google Ads a bit.
yeah. I'm sorry, I was texting with a client. I wasn't sure if you touched on Google Ads at the beginning. But yeah,
I'll
I
leave
think
that one to you.
okay. I think the Google Ads, Jeff, is a great resource for people that especially if you're trying to convert in that middle bottom of the funnel, area. If you or if you have something that is a more of a transactional type of a product, something that can be bought online easily, something that you don't need to have a 7 call sales process with, or something like that, then I would strongly encourage you to invest some money in Google AdWords, or even if you do have something of a little bit more of a complicated sales process, but you need inbound leads. We have a client that we're doing a Google AdWords campaign, gets really good results. They do it for leads. It's a high ticket, high margin item with a long buying funnel, and so it's not maybe one that you would typically think about for Google Ads, but they get great results. And another thing that people think about Google Ads is, oh, we have to spend a whole lot of money. Not necessarily true. It's all about competition. It's all about what your other competitors are doing in the market and what they're spending on and the kind of keywords they're using. But this client that I'm thinking of, they spend usually $1,000 a month on Google AdWords, and I think last month they had over 25 conversions, which again, a big ticket item. So it can be a huge ROA platform if you do it correctly. Of course, there are a lot of horror stories out there and things like that with Google AdWords. It's not the easiest platform in the world to just dive in and start doing yourself. So I would definitely recommend that you have a professional, whether it's a Google AdWords specialist or an ad agency, at least do it for you or help you along the way to get started. But yeah, once you have a good Google AdWords campaign going, that can be a wonderful way to get inbound leads and sales that you're just going to cut right in front of the competition. Because when somebody's going on there, they're in buying mode. When someone's going on Google and they're like, I want to find this product because I want to buy it, you want to make sure that you show up in that top ranking on the paid side, which is SEM, and then as Miles was alluding to on the SEO side as well, on the organic side. It's really important that you show up in both of those, I believe, in order to make sure that you're not losing clients and customers.
Well, thanks, Jeff. Thanks for the questions. Looks like we hit the nail on the head with those answers. So if anyone else has any questions or wants us to talk about something a little bit different, or maybe bounce back and take a deeper dive in anything we mentioned, go ahead and jump in the comments below. We are live streaming to Facebook and our YouTube channel now every Wednesday at 11. Just here to answer your questions. So even if we don't get to you here, you can email us at askwildman@wildmanweb.com, and we'll try to get back to your questions later. But we are offering this up as a resource. We think it's really important to have an informed community, and that the more you guys know, the better for everyone. We just want to share as much as we can. So we have this show out here every week. We do have a couple of other resources that we're offering. If some of this sounds interesting to you, you want to learn more, you can go to our website, wildmanweb.com. We've got a whole section, articles, wildmanweb.com/articles. And there's just a couple of little quick articles. There are no major technical things there or huge deep dives or anything. It's just enough to get you started. There's a bunch of resources in there in every article, linked sources for everything. So it can be a really good starting point to learn about digital marketing, about social media, about SEO, about web dev, about design services. We got a lot of stuff in there. So go ahead and check that out. And we also have still available our LBOT, or our local business online toolkit, available at wildmanweb.com/LBOT. Go there and sign up. This is our toolkit of subscription-based software meant to help small businesses run their business online and better utilize their online presence. So there's tools in there to help you manage your reviews, get more reviews, manage your website, analytics tools for paid ads. If you're running any Google ads or Facebook ads, you want to make sure you know what's working and what's not. There's tools on there to help you manage social media, like we were talking about earlier. Take care of some of these listing issues that we were mentioning, like your Google My Business listing. So go ahead and check that out there at wildmanweb.com/LBOT.
So, Miles, if I may jump in here for a minute and address Jeff's earlier question / point. I've spent the last few minutes while you were giving that awesome tour de force of the local online toolkit, business toolkit, the Instagram page. The question. Now, we don't usually do this, but this is kind of fun. We don't usually give an on-the-spot review of the local company's Instagram page, but since Jeff brought it to our attention, I will address it. I think that this is good stuff. I encourage everybody to go look at it. But basically, what they're doing on their page, they have the typical, glossy, lovely looking pictures of their food, which is delicious. Everybody should go try it. And then they have some posts that are humorous. Surprise the broker. Speaking of Roy Williams, you always want to shock the mind, so to speak. Give them a little something that they're not expecting to see, and that will draw in their attention. And then they're also, kind of doing this day in history updates. Famous rock and roll musicians and things that have happened in music history over time. So, kind of maybe I'm assuming that that's what they're really into. Lifestyle wise is classic rock and things like that. So, giving a little bit of their personality and their brand, which I think Instagram especially is a good place to do that. Instagram, like we talked about with different psychologies of the platforms, it's definitely more fun. Definitely less salesy. And a lot more branding and that kind of thing. Goes on Instagram. So I think at least what I've seen from this approach that it's pretty good. So yeah, thanks for pointing that out, Jeff. I hadn't ever done a deep dive on that. Okay, what's next, Miles?
Oh, what's next is now I'm falling down the Instagram rabbit hole over here. Shouldn't be allowed to do the social media. It's dangerous. See, their meme game is strong. That's pretty good too.
Yep, meme culture is a big deal. I think a lot of advertisers fought it. A lot of businesses fought it for a long time. But I don't think it's going away.
I did see one thing on here that was interesting. Just a couple of times at a quick glance here is just referencing other local businesses. It's something I don't really see a lot of people doing, but it can be a really powerful way to kind of get that win-win scenario and drive engagement, not only for yourself, but for our friends in the local business community. If you call someone out here, I think they referenced 715, Culinaria, just sort of calling out their friends in the local business community and You can kind of share audiences that way if you properly tag everyone, and
Yeah,
that can be a really good sort of, not really hack, but easy way to jump in and get some
it's
quick, easy engagement.
it's great point, Miles. I think it's a vital part of any strategy. Uh, I think again, especially on something like Instagram, which is a little bit more laid back, it's a little more casual. It's like hanging out at the bar with your friends. And so of course you're going to say, "What's up? How's it going?" Give them a shout out, give them some love when they do something good, right? So social media, it's supposed to be social. So so engaging with others is the key ingredient there. And I think especially engaging with others in your business category. I know some people may think that's a little weird. Like, isn't that my competition? But no, a rising tide raises all boats, right? And so, the more love that you're giving, the more love you're going to receive. And so that's really, really key. And I have noticed Taco Zone doing that. I've also noticed Taco doing that. We'll give another shout out to my good buddy Jay over there at Taco. I know he spreads the love around as well to a lot of other businesses. I see him sharing other businesses' posts on his personal page and stuff like that are in direct competition with him. Um, so I love that aspect of social media engagement, and I think that there needs to be more of that. Quite frankly.
Damn, now I'm hungry.
I could use a taco right now.
Oh boy. And then we've got another question over here. How about marketing on LinkedIn? So can we transition a little bit outside of Instagram and toss it over to LinkedIn? I guess we can
I
just
love
give a
LinkedIn.
quick overview of the benefits there. So obviously it's a very
Sure.
different kind of platform from what
It's
we were just
extremely
talking
different.
about.
Yeah, yeah. And so for a lot of people, they think about LinkedIn still as a place you go to hire somebody or to get hired by somebody. And don't get me wrong, that still happens. But in the last 2 to 3 years, LinkedIn has really evolved and matured as a platform and has really become a big content space and a big place where a lot of sharing, a lot of engaging, a lot of networking is happening in the business community. So I think, especially if you're in the B2B space, that needs to be your main focus. I even myself, who have been a devout devotee of Facebook and Facebook advertising. I've made the shift in the last years to that. If you're doing B2B campaigns, your definite focus needs to be on LinkedIn and then Facebook second. Um, and I'll get into that a little bit. But I just wanted to make the point that as a platform in general, it's really, really a lot more diverse and, like I said, evolved than it has from what we remember LinkedIn as being. It's just a place where you go and hawk your resume or find somebody else that's hawking their resume. So the really nice thing about it is you don't have to spend a lot of money to have great results on LinkedIn. You can spend zero money and have great results on LinkedIn. The reason is because when you're posting, and this goes back to what we were talking about a little bit before, especially if you're posting in volume and you're posting really high value kinds of content, you can get great traction and people will see your posts, people will engage with your posts. Not only that, you may remember this from back in the day on Facebook, but when somebody likes your post, then other people will see that post in their newsfeed that don't follow you at all. They just follow the person who liked your post or who commented on your post. And so that's a huge way that you can get seen by people who have no idea who you are, again, for free. It's just a matter of taking the time and the effort to go on there and create good content and get it out there in a high amount of volume. But it's a lot like Facebook used to be back in the day, where a business can make an organic post for free, and not only will all their followers see it, but a lot of other people who don't follow them may also see it. And so that's a huge win. They need more content on the platform. There are more eyeballs than there are content creators, which is the opposite on probably every other platform other than TikTok. So TikTok is obviously way different than LinkedIn, but so that's a huge win. So that's a huge win. And then on the paid side of it, in terms of what we can do with paid advertising, we can get in such type of targeting that will really blow your mind. We can not only target specific positions in different companies, like we can on Facebook. I can target all the CFOs in Kansas City on Facebook, and we can do that on LinkedIn. But what I can do, the step I can go farther on LinkedIn is I can target specific companies. I can target specific people at those companies. So let's say I wanted to target every insurance company in Kansas City. Well, I could individually target specific companies, and I could individually target the decision maker at that company that I wanted to get in front of. So as you can see, as a B2B salesperson, that this is literally worth its weight in gold, because a lot of B2B salespeople will spend 360 out 365 days just trying to get in front of decision makers, right? It's literally the hardest part of the job. And so LinkedIn has created a much easier way for us to do this. Now, of course, because you're going to have that access and access to very, important and influential people, you're going to have to pay for it. So the cost to reach somebody on LinkedIn is generally a lot higher than it is on Facebook. But the quality of people that you're able to reach and the detail that you're able to get into in terms of who you're going to reach is a lot more refined and powerful. So for a lot of businesses, it makes a lot of sense to pay that extra amount in order to get the better quality leads. It doesn't make sense for everybody. And LinkedIn certainly isn't just, hey, I'm doing B2B. I need to automatically be on LinkedIn. There are some exceptions to that, especially with budget. But I think for the vast majority of us, it's where we need to be and where we need to go when we're doing B2B sales. And it's not just B2B. There obviously, everybody who owns a business and who's in business is also a consumer. So it's not that you can't find consumers there, but it is certainly by far the most powerful platform for reaching B2B people. And then one other quick note I'll say about it is once you dig into marketing on LinkedIn a little bit, you'll probably quickly find, and especially if you put in your profile that you're a business owner or any kind of decision maker, you'll quickly be hit up by just a vast amount of automation and people, hitting you up, wanting to give you offers, wanting to buy you lunch, wanting to, basically wanting your time and attention to have a sales pitch. And so there's a lot of automated programs that people are using on LinkedIn. Not to say they don't work, because certainly they do. I think it's just way over flooded right now, and that you're going to have much more success if you are the 1 out of 50, that's actually taking the time to reach out to people organically, find out a little bit about them, have a valid business reason when you reach out to them, have a personal, connection, and have a real, valid way that you can help them. And that's why you want to schedule a meeting with them, because, somebody like me, I get 20 of them in my inbox every single day, and I just delete them at this point because I know that, I actually almost deleted a friend a couple of weeks ago that had reached out to me to ask a question on LinkedIn because I was just going delete, delete, delete. I was like, oh crap, I actually know that's actually a real person. And so be a little cautious of that. And I certainly wouldn't go down that path unless you had somebody who was really, really good at it, that had a good proven track record of results. I think otherwise you're just better not doing the automation and doing it organically.
Awesome. Well, I think that was LinkedIn here, and I wasn't going to go this way, but it kind of makes sense now to grab this question sitting here. Kind of ties into what you were just talking about, so maybe we can just tack it on at the end of this conversation before moving on. How do I choose which advertising platform is best for my business? So we've just gone over a whole slew of them and different ways of engaging people and posting regularly and paying and not paying and everything. But when it boils down to it, especially if we're talking about paid advertising, there's probably a fairly limited budget that you can put towards something, and you can't afford to and probably shouldn't be just putting all of your money on every platform and every tool that you can possibly use for advertising. So how does a business make that call?
Oh, that's a great question. Definitely one we get a lot. So, but it's really important, and so it's something that I think we need to continually talk about. I'll do it from the organic side, separately, and then the paid side. The answer is is testing. That's the simple answer. The more complicated answer is, the first question you have to ask and you have to understand is who's my audience, which we talked about a little bit before, um, and you really need to do a deep dive on that, and then you have to figure out where is my audience, and there's a good chance that it's going to be over a cross section of 3, 4, maybe even more platforms, and so then you have to narrow that down of all these possible solutions, where is my strongest chance of reaching my audience, and then what is my ability to reach them. So if my audience is clearly on Facebook, but I have no budget to reach anybody on Facebook with Facebook ads, well, then maybe actually Facebook isn't my best option, because maybe I can reach my audience on another platform organically and actually reach them, where it's going to be difficult to do that on Facebook. So the answer may not necessarily be where's my largest audience, which I think is where a lot of us go first, is where can I find the most people? And this is just more of a comment on advertising in general. I think reach is overrated. I've been guilty of this myself. Saying, oh well, we can reach 70,000 people, or we can reach 100,000 people. But how many do you need in your business to be successful? The vast majority of businesses, if they got 70,000 new customers, would close, and they'd be ruined, right? They need 7 new customers or 70 new customers, right? And so reach is overrated. It's really about where can I create the most impact and the most frequency within my audience for the least amount of resistance, or sometimes the least amount of money, depending on what we're looking at. So that's something that we really have to take into account. But this whole game of advertising and marketing is just hacking attention. So what we're really trying to figure it out is, where can I get the most attention with the least amount of resistance? And when we're doing organic, the nice thing is that we can test for free, right? Now, I wouldn't go and just start testing 7 platforms though, because again, like we talked about with I think it was the first question of the show, is how much should I be posting? More, right? So if you start posting on a bunch of platforms, you're obviously going to be straining yourself a little bit too thin over all those platforms. So I would try choosing one platform at first, only one, and try to post as much as you can to that, and then try to contextualize off of those posts to the next platform that you think is the second best. And like I said, you can do a little bit more since you're not paying for this, and you can maybe test platforms a little bit easier and faster than you would if we're doing paid, which I'll get into now. So now if we're talking about paid advertising, then I would definitely only choose one platform, and I would stick with that platform until I really knew that that wasn't the platform for me. And so what I mean by that is that would be a lot of testing, and it would be testing a lot of different kinds of content. Because generally, if something's not working, if something's not producing results, or a campaign's not going like we want it to, it's not that we're talking to the wrong people, it's that we're saying the wrong thing. And I know Miles has heard me say this a million times, but it bears repeating. I'd rather say the wrong thing to the right people than say the right thing to the wrong person. And so I really want to be focused on how many different kinds of content have I tested on this platform before I go to another one. And here's the good news, because that may sound like it's really hard. The good news is, it's not. You can spend $5 a day on Facebook, and you can test things. And you can spend $5 a day on LinkedIn, or maybe 15, and you can test things. And you can spend $5 a day, on Instagram, and you can test things. And so what I mean by that is, you can have a different picture, a different copy point, a different ad set, and you can be testing all of these different things on your platform for crazy, terrible, least amount of money you've ever thought of, right? I mean, we're talking about literally take $50 and I could find out if something's going to work or not. So that's what I would do, is I would really do a deep dive on the best platform that I could possibly do, but I would test dozens of different things on that platform. And if I still didn't get any traction, then I would go to my second choice there. So Hopefully that answers the question. But it's a really important question, and it starts with understanding your audience, understanding how can I hack that attention, and then what's going to work, what's my content tilt, and I need to test things quickly in order to find out what works and then double down on it.
I'll just add one thing to that answer before moving on to this next question here. And that is something I've heard you say before, but I know is something that we have to remind people on a lot, is that you have to give things proper time in order to test them out properly. I feel like a lot of people, especially when it comes to social media, we're kind of trained to have no attention span at all. It's all real fast. If something doesn't work in 5 minutes, then you're ready to move on. A lot of these things, when it comes to these kinds of campaigns and you're testing different kinds of things, sometimes it does take a little bit of time, whether that you're just waiting for the algorithms to pick something up properly, for the system to really learn what you're doing, for some kind of content to gain traction, for people to see it, whatever it is. These things can take a little bit of time. So just because something doesn't work immediately doesn't mean it's not working for you necessarily. So if you are starting to run something, you're just trying to do some tests here up front. You're testing out different platforms, different types of content. Make sure to allot enough time per test to make sure that something is actually working and you're not just running away from a gold mine because it didn't work on the first day.
Great
Uh,
point, Miles. Let me jump back in there though.
yeah,
Great
please.
point. I'm glad you brought that up. Okay. Yes. But I want to divide that a little bit in macro and micro. So on the macro side of it, like if I'm gonna test Facebook, yeah, that's not like I'm gonna spend $50, then I'm gonna go off and test Facebook. But if I just want to see if one picture works on Facebook, then maybe that is a micro test, and I'm just going to spend $50 on that picture. And if that doesn't work, I'm going to switch to another picture. But it's not like I'm bailing out of Facebook or I'm completely going back to the drawing board on the campaign. And that goes back to volume. That goes back to having enough, uh, rods, in the water that you're bound to catch some, right? And so that's really the important part of testing, and that's really why I do encourage people to either hire somebody to show you how to do this or hire somebody to do it for you. You don't have to hire us, but you can waste a lot of money just testing things and not really knowing how to do that process, because it's a complicated process. And even for me, somebody who does this every day, every single day I'll have a questionable call there of like, hey, do I run this for another day? Do I run this for another week? Or do we cut ties and we do something else? I mean, like, those are difficult answers, even for a trained professional to sometimes be able to quickly say, yes, this is black and white, because sometimes it's not. Uh, but yeah, you have to be able to give it long enough to know, but you also can't be so blinded that you just, oh well, eventually, it's going to work, as well, because I've seen people fall into that trap. Ego is a terrible decision maker, and so I usually go into a campaign wanting, that's where volume is. It's like I want to have a certain amount of volume because I know that I didn't hit it out of the park. I didn't hit a double on every pitch they threw me, right? There's going to be a few that slide in there for a strike. And so I want to make sure that we figure out what is going to work and what's not going to work really quickly, and then get rid of the stuff that's not going to work and double down on the stuff that is going to work. And so that's where the kind of the micro massaging comes into play. But definitely leave that kind of headaches to a trained professional. And as a business owner or a manager of a company, yeah, you should be looking at all of your campaigns in a long-term uh, uh, format. I tell people don't even look at things, until 3 months into it, in terms of the data that you're getting back. But of course, whoever's running the campaign is looking at stuff, 3 times a day. So a little bit of a behind the curtain explanation there.
No, I think that's good. We've got another question here. What are the essential things that you need to know about posting effective videos? So I guess it kind of means It depends on what you mean by effective. So videos have a lot of context. Obviously, they're a really great piece of content that you can get out there, very engaging. People love video in general, but there's a different kind of video that you want to post to Facebook, then you want to post to LinkedIn, then you want to post on the homepage of your website, or are you really trying to climb search rankings? Are you trying to drive engagement, or are you just trying to sell something right off the bat? Is this part of a marketing campaign? Because all of these videos are going to have vastly different goals. Across the board, I can say that videos are highly effective. Different kinds of social platforms and algorithms all really love videos. So they're going to prioritize them higher. You're probably going to reach more people on, say, Facebook if you post a video versus a novel a post or something. It's just a bunch of text. Even if it's the exact same if it's the same content, you're just writing the transcription of the video. The video is always going to do better. That applies to search engines as well. Search engines love to see video. So if you can get a video on the homepage of your website, then search engines love to see that. If you can get one uploaded to your Google My Business or something, then people love to see the videos there. So across the board, algorithms and platforms like videos. Again, you're asking about effective video, so maybe you can expand on exactly what you're trying to do here, but it totally depends on in what context you're posting these videos and what you're trying to do with them. I can tell you what not to do. This is another one where us perfectionists really fail on videos. It's really difficult to put out TV quality, production quality, 4K video all the time that's highly produced and perfectly recorded with no issues in there, and you've got exactly the right script and you read through it perfectly on the first time. Like it's incredibly difficult to produce that kind of video. With any kind of frequency. So bring that bar down a little bit. Don't just put out a bunch of low quality video or anything, but bring down that volume, that bar for yourself a little bit. If you stutter a little bit, like I just did, if you say the wrong thing, it's okay. Jump back in there. If you don't have the best camera in the world, that's fine. If you're just using your phone camera, that's fine. Make sure that you've got some good audio in there. People can understand you. And get the best video you can, but don't let production quality stop you from creating video content and putting it out there. I think that's going to be my big tip here on video.
I'm happy to hear you say that, Miles. As a covering perfectionist, I think that was a big step.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I'm working on it. I'm working on myself. I'm growing.
Yes, you are. You're growing right before our eyes. My goodness, this has been an impactful show today. Yeah, that was some good advice. I'll take a little stab at just giving some general things that I like to see in a video if we're talking about posting on social media. Um, you know, obviously, attention span is at an all-time low. In our society. We can lament on that, but it is what it is. And so you really have to capture their attention off the bat. I mean, we used to say you had 7 seconds, and then I think it was 5, and then it was 3, and now it's probably down to a blink. But and it also depends on the audience that you're looking for. But next time you're in a public place, which I know we're not usually in these days, find a college student or somebody younger than us and watch how they consume social media when they're on their phone. I mean, they are literally they are scrolling at the speed of light. And so make sure you put something in the very beginning of your video that is going to capture somebody's attention. That is the biggest thing that I would say that we all need to do a better job of. And I mentioned surprising the broca earlier. That's a term that comes from Roy Williams, the Wizard of Ads, that he talked about 30 years ago. When talking about how to write great radio commercials, it's at the very beginning of the commercial. You do something that twists the brain, that surprises them. They're not expecting. And then it opens up the broca, as the frontal lobe of the brain, where expectations are kept. And so you trick it. And so what that does is then that triggers the rest of the brain to go, huh, what's going on here? And you pay a little bit closer attention than you would if you hadn't had that. That's if you just got what you were expecting, right? And so that's a little bit of a trick to the trade that I think is paramount in these days of extreme short attention spans. You know, 50 different platforms, 10 different devices in the home. You know, I'm exaggerating, but you know, we're very, very distracted. And so that I think is key in the video itself. I would always put captions on the video because a lot of times we're not scrolling with our sound on. So and just like that first image is really important, that establishing shot. So is that first piece of the script. You know, we want that first piece of the script to describe what is the end consumer getting out of this. You know, that's got to be at the head of your message. And then I really believe in breaking the third wall, to use an old film term, which just means to come out directly and talk to somebody. You know, Miles was talking about don't be trying to shoot a television commercial. Even if I shot a television commercial, I wouldn't put it on social media. It's not social. You know, I'd rather have somebody talking to me casually, face to face, than than a sterile kind of top down feeling that you get from a lot of television commercials. So yeah, I think talking into the camera and posting something is great. I don't think you really need to overthink it much more than that, other than what am I going to say? And then the other thing that's really important is having that copy in the body of the post, and that first line or two being something really, really important that's going to catch somebody's eye and make them stop and want to watch that video. And the same thing if you're running this video as an ad, that the headline and the bottom of the portion of the ad, there's something really, really eye-catching, something really, really valuable there that's going to make somebody stop. Because that's what I do whenever I'm creating an ad or I'm creating a video, is I just imagine that 19-year-old sitting in the coffee shop, just like, scrolling so hard they're about to set their phone on fire and give themselves a blister. And I think, how can we make them stop and watch this? So that's kind of my thought process when I'm trying to make video content.
Yeah, and I'll throw in one final point here. Is it with your follow up here? It sounds like we're probably looking for one on social media and two looking for engagement. And this may be a little self-serving as we're doing this currently, but live videos. We've talked about this
Mm-hmm.
before, but the algorithms and the social platforms all love right off the bat. You're going to get more engagement. Uh, you're going to get more views, people seeing this much more because it is a live video. Your video is going to be served up to a higher volume of people. So right there off the bat, you're winning and getting more likelihood of getting more engagement. On top of that, it comes with a couple of other pluses. It gives you that little red live thing at the top. People tend to stop scrolling for that. People like this live thing. It's something a little bit different. It's eye-catching. And then also, depending on the platform you're on, obviously, but on Facebook at the very least, it sends out notifications to those who follow you, who are following your event or your live thing. If it's been scheduled, they'll actually get a notification. It buzzes in their pocket and says, "Hey, Jeff's about to go live," or Wildman Web Solutions is about to go live with Ask Wildman. So you are just right there. You're amping up your engagement level before you even start. And then if you use some of those other ideas that we were talking about in creating video, making it engaging right off the top, really creating good content, being regular about it, all of these different things, then you're really going to see that a massive engagement or a massive improvement in your engagement when it comes to videos, just leveraging that live video function.
Yeah, great point, Miles. I'm just going to add one other thing in here, and I probably got to hop off here. But before I do, I need something from Mr. Fry. In the comments, I need your pick for the U.S. Open and what the winning score will be, sir. All right. So here's a hack that I use all the time when we're using videos where it's just somebody talking directly into the camera. And this really works when you're going after a specific audience. And so a lot of times I'll do this on paid ads, and we'll shoot the 30-second, a minute long, whatever body of the message, and then we'll reshoot 5, sometimes a dozen intros, and the intro just calls out whoever you're trying to get to watch the video. So if I'm trying to get dentists, if I'm doing a B2B dentist ad, then the first part of the video is me coming on and saying, "Hey, dentists in Omaha." And that ad is being sent to dentists in Omaha. Then the next one is, "Hey, dentists in Kansas City, did you know?" And that ad is being sent to dentists in Kansas City. "Hey, dentists in Wichita, how about this?" You see, and so you're calling out the person almost by name, but obviously that's a little bit more difficult. So you're just basically calling out their profession or whoever you think that category of people is. For you, Jeff, "Hey, libertarians in Kansas," or "Hey, liberty lovers in the Midwest," whatever it is. And that's going to stop them, hopefully, and say, "Hey, this is a message for me. This is about me." And then it's just up to you in the next 7 seconds to give them some value. And so they don't pop out and say, this isn't a value. And then, yeah, the thing about the live video, 100%, just want to piggyback on that, what Miles was saying, except one other thing, is when you're doing live, my advice about putting all the important stuff at the very beginning is actually not going to work well for you, because you get more followers, the longer that the live stream is going. So sometimes when you start a live stream, you actually maybe want a little bit of an introduction there, that it's not just, "Hey, here's the most important message that I'm going to give you in my hour-long talk," or at least you want to follow that message up several times again throughout the show or the live stream. So, okay, DJ, 1 under. That is an aggressive call, sir. That's an aggressive call. I got JT at 4 over, so I don't think anyone's going low. But if anyone's going low, it's probably DJ. So I like that. I like that.
I'm
Good
gonna
stuff.
I'm gonna pretend I know what you guys are talking about over there.
All right, fun
Yep.
stuff.
Well, I think that's it for this week. Hopefully, we covered a couple of important things there. I think we hit a couple of good questions. Jeff, thanks for your questions as always. Make sure to check back with us next week. We're doing this every week, Wednesdays at 11, live streaming to our Facebook page as well as now our YouTube channel. So if you are more of a YouTube goer, then jump over there and follow us at Wildman Web. And feel free to put your questions in the comments. We'll try to get to them as soon as possible. Or you can email us at askwildman@wildmanweb.com, and we'll feature your question next week. Mike, thank you very much.
Yes, thanks for having me, Miles. Thanks for not pushing that old X button. I know you had your finger on it a few times and keeping me on with you. But
Not yet.
seriously, thanks for the questions, Jeff. Thanks, everybody who watched, and everybody have a prosperous and safe week. We'll see you next time.
All right, that is it from us. Thank you very much. See you next Wednesday at 11.